things. Perhaps the hardest person we find to forgive is ourselves. In the Christian tradition, we use the word grace to describe the power that comes from God. And I think often forgiveness is so big that it needs the power that comes from God. It's always fascinated me. Someone pointed out to me that on the cross, Jesus doesn't forgive anybody. And you think, oh, are you sure? Yes. What happens on the cross? Jesus says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So even there, Jesus offers a prayer and suggests that we need that power from God to be able to let go. And I think sometimes our honest prayer is, actually, God, I don't want to forgive. Actually, I want to hold on to this bitterness. I'm used to living with it. It gives me a certain negative power. And so we need to say to God, I need to want to forgive so that I may be free. I've met many people who have had terrible things done to them, who have chosen to forgive. And often they've said to me, I needed to forgive for my own sake in order that I may be free. But I'm moving a bit beyond the first point, which is about forgiving oneself. But also, when I've done something terrible, or something terrible is done to me, there are often permanent consequences. Yes. And of course, in the worst case is when a life has been taken. And sometimes we, I think, wrongly cheapen forgiveness, and we reduce forgiveness to saying sorry. And my example is, if I steal your bicycle and I come back 6 months later and say, my brother, I'm the one who stole your bicycle. I'm very sorry. Will you forgive me? And you say, yes, of course. And I keep the bike. Is that, would you be happy with that? Or do you want your bicycle back?
I would.
What exactly? And so, in a way, when we think about forgiveness, we have to think about returning the bike. And that points to ideas and notions of restorative justice. It's not just enough to say sorry. So in my case, I meet the person who has sent me the bomb, and I forgive that person. But I still might say, you know, I've forgiven you, but I still have no hands. I still only have one eye. My eardrums are shattered. I will always need someone for the rest of my life to assist me. Of course, you will help pay for that person. Not as a condition of forgiveness, but as part of reparation and restitution and the ways that are possible. So maybe if I've done something terrible, yes, I may be able to forgive myself, but I still need to attend to the consequences of what I've done. And where possible, repair the damage. Maybe not to that person, maybe in the kind of life that I lead now. You know, there are some people in South Africa, some white people, who have been convicted of saying, we were party to evil, who are now leading lives of reparation, who are now saying, but we for the rest of our lives will help contribute to building a different kind of society, to healing the damage of what has been done. You know, when we think of retribution, we think about punishing that person for what they've done. Restorative justice is, how can the damage that has been done be restored? How can the relationships be restored? And I think that restorative justice is much more at the heart of the gospel. But also, I mean, today is the great holy feast of Eid, and we wish our Muslim sisters and brothers well, but Muslims and Jews and Hindus, all the great faith traditions have ideas of forgiveness as part of them. And of course, for us as Christians, it's there in the prayer that Jesus taught us. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. And that suggests that our own ability to be forgiven is related to whether or not we can forgive others who have wronged us. But as I say, it's something big, but we speak of it as something small, and we need that power from God. And then sometimes, of course, as sisters and brothers, we need the inspiration of others who have chosen to forgive and say, wow, I'm inspired by that. Perhaps with encouragement and support, I can do that. But I think forgiveness is also a choice. I can choose to forgive, I can choose not to forgive. But when, it's very interesting, the word in the New Testament for forgiveness is the same word as untying a knot. Very interesting.
Wow.
So when there's unforgiveness, it's like we are prisoners of one another. And the act of forgiveness unties the knot. It releases and liberates both parties.
So, Father, near Father, I can't ewo potoka semu na meba no tofa edi amount ewo yen so ya kan kasemu no ojitu mu se ansa na betumi to anamo ewo abrabo mu no se unni aduaba e kire se utimi de bone eche eme efiri mu a empem bebre no odise no di kan ka se ayete sese ne a onwene kantan no edu ba bia no wa bopo baako sa epo no wa bopo na ma ho nko onipa ko so ofo mo no wa bopo no ama no nso enti woni ni menu nyina mo de mo ahye kantan mu kruwa mu na mo nam san so ma ho kwan ma ho ntu anamo soronko enti oguso ene ye eche se ne ebe ya yebenya eho na yetimi de bone ache na nso so oguso untu so fum obi a no de chewa eto da bia manipa kunu sa ampani ampa ne wo ye no wanu hu ampa sa ofa ne da de ponwa fa na de san fa koma no se ne sika fa na nenchres ampa watumi edene watumi anu hu ade no so de obone achew mekoswa say I will still entreat you to join us on this conversation by calling our telephone lines +233 240 30 30 30. Call and let's share this our morning startup with Father Michael Lapsley. He has seen it all. He has experienced it all. He's gone through the tunnel and learned the act of forgiveness. And today, he has instituted the Institute for the Healing of Memories that many countries are buying into it and are using that gift to make sure that they share a lot. Father, you are making and you were giving an understanding on the area that if you don't give off first from within, it's like tying a knot. How can you expatiate on that? That if you don't learn the act of forgiveness, if you are not able to let go, like you said in the New Testament, forgiveness is just like untying a knot. How can that be practical in every area of our lives?
Well, I suppose it's in our families that forgiveness is often the most challenging, and in our intimate relationships. And there, sometimes people are able to forgive something terrible that some other human being has committed against you. But to forgive your husband, your wife, your children is sometimes much more difficult because there is all this emotion tied up. But the point is, when I haven't forgiven somebody, we have a kind of, we're tied to each other in a negative way. And when we're able to forgive, we're able to move on in our lives. And unforgiveness often holds people prisoner for many decades of your life. But I think also, as Christians, we need to be careful of not being too quick to tell hurting people that they should forgive. Because often we need our pain to be heard and acknowledged. And only then may we be able to forgive. And so instead of when someone is hurting, say, and you should forgive, because we increase their burden, say, my sister, my brother, I feel the pain that you're feeling. And I understand why you're feeling it. I understand your hurt, your outrage at what has happened to you. Because when we are given that, if you like, that context of love and support, we may subsequently choose to travel the journey of forgiveness. But often it's this acknowledgement which is, if you like, a prerequisite for people to be able to travel the journey towards forgiveness.
Father, why should I forgive at all? I'm comfortable. I hate the person. I detest the person. I'm okay with it. What will be the value in forgiving the person? And can it be transmitted as a form of energy, like you said in families? Before you realize you don't like your next door neighbor, your children also grew not to like the next door neighbor. It becomes a generational thing. It started with one person. The last person may not even know what caused that hatred, but it becomes.
Well, it's true. I think what you're saying, it applies to individuals, it applies to communities, it applies to nations, and which is why we often get intergenerational conflict and even wars that go across centuries. To put it in a funny way, forgiveness is an act of healthy selfishness. If my heart is full of hatred and bitterness, now I may have very good reasons to hate, I may have very good reasons to be bitter, but what does that hatred and bitterness do to you? It messes us up. It messes us up emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. So the journey of beginning to let go, if you like, of the poison in us, the journey of forgiveness is a journey towards my own freedom.
Father is really hitting right on the head. That actually in the studios with us, and we will go for another musical break. And when I come back, we will just do our wrap up and hear his last words for us. Yes. Welcome back. What a privilege to carry it to God in prayer. I believe that you've enjoyed and you are enjoying our time with Father Lapsley on Start Up. And we are going to make your morning always beautiful. I believe you have a caller on the line. Caller, good morning.
Good morning.
Please, your name and where you are calling from.
I'm calling from Takwa.
Go ahead, my brother.
I'm still congratulating you for the good thing that you've been giving to us every morning. And I thank our Father so much for what He has given us. The point that I would like to make is that I know that in all things, when you forgive, it helps you to develop, that is, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. The reason is that when you harbor bitterness within you, bitterness and happiness and joy can never stay in one human being. As soon as you harbor bitterness, the joy actually runs away from you. So if you want to enjoy God's development or prosperity, you should forgive others so that we can actually keep happiness within us. Because those two things can never stay in one apartment. Thank you very much.
My brother Riley hit it on the head of the nail that bitterness and happiness cannot cohabit. Father, what is your take on that?
Yeah, no, thanks to the brother for what he said. And I think the thing about bitterness is it messes us up big time. You know? So again, what I'm stressing is, yes, you may have good reasons to be bitter, but what does it do to you? So the image that I use is for healing of memories. It's really like vomiting out the poison. You know, if we get a snake bite, they take us to the hospital and they get the poison out. And that's true with destructive emotions like hatred, like bitterness, desire for revenge. There's a nice, one of my favorite quotes about revenge. They say revenge is when you drink poison and hope that somebody else will die. So this stuff messes us up, it damages us. But we first have to admit it's there. And yeah, I have good reasons, but for my own sake, I need to find the way, step by step, of letting it go. And that's a journey, step by step.
Step by step, Father, hold it right there. We have another caller on the line. Caller, good morning. Your name and where you are calling from.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Prophet Gosway. I'm calling from Nigeria.
Prophet Gosway, thank you very much for calling from Nigeria.
Yeah, what I want to ask the Reverend, I am the kind of person that smoking pisses me off, alright? And when that thing pisses me off, it's easy for, I'll just forget about that person. Although I will not have anything against the person, but I will not get close to that person. So what